Hello to whoever's in the room right now. I see two people joined in. I'm just going to give folks a little bit more time to join in, and then I'll get started. If you can hear me, can you type yes? If you can hear me, can you type yes? And if you are on a laptop, you may be able to benefit from this greatly. I'm actually in my kitchen and just trying to see who can hear me. Okay. Hi, Judith. Thank you. See if I can find you guys some music to entertain you a little bit until some folks join in. I'm always experimenting and trying something different and trying to do something different. And so with that being said, this is just a new way. Hold on one second. I'm still here. Just want to make sure you guys can still hear me. I'm trying to find some music. Yeah, I'm always experimenting and trying to do something different, something new. Josiah, go back. Okay, I found something. All right. If you got time to hang out for just a little bit, then do that. You're fine. No, just wait. Give me a moment. My son is over here whispering. Two. That's the last time I'm going to say it. If you can hear the music, type yes. I know before I was able to give you guys some music. So if you could actually hear my music, one. You guys just hang in there for a little bit. There was a question that was posted in Work to Social Work group, and somebody asked if I can kind of review that question. I took a look at it. I'm a little bit tired. I'm quite sure you guys are tired as well. Right? Some of you might be on your some might be on a laptop or a desktop. You're on a laptop and you actually want to talk and interact with me where I can visibly see. I have the ability and bring you on. So in a laptop or desktop, can you kind of let me know that as well? I think for me, I learn so much better when I'm able to be engaging and interacting and able to talk to folks, and folks can talk to me back because I learn so much more that way. So let's see what happens. I think I just lost someone else. Judith, hang in there. I know you're there, but I don't know who else is there. I could just see the numbers, but no one is actually saying anything to me. So again, the experience is so much better if you can talk back. It's helpful for me because it gives me an idea what I need to do and let me know if I'm on track or on target. I'm still checking in with a few folks. I wish I want to invite a few folks in. So if you guys just bear with me, for those of you who are still here, just bear with me for a sec because I want to kind of invite some people in. It was a few people who actually asked me to do this, so I'm trying to make that possible. So hang in there. Judith, can you hear the music? If you can hear the music, say yes, I can hear the music. If not, then I'm gonna have to try something different. So if you can hear the music, let me know. I don't want you to just sit there being bored. There are functions at the bottom of your cell phone if you're on a cell phone. And there are other functions up top of your screen if you're on a desktop. So again, it's really helpful to know who's there. All right. Let me see. There, we got a couple of people. All right. In a sec, I'm going to just go ahead and get started and just, okay, I got 4 people in. Tell me yes, I apologize. I'm driving and listening. I hear no music. Okay. Imani, then that's okay. It's just good to know that you're there. All right. So you don't hear music. I think it will only be privy to those. I could hear it before, but not now. I turned it down, Judith. You must be on your, how about now? Can you hear it? All right. Good. All right, I'm gonna just black out just for a second. Do not go anywhere. I am still here. I just want to invite some folks because I do want to get started. So hopefully, um, and most people say, "Oh, I didn't know," and I know how that goes. So I'm trying to invite some folk, um, so that we can get started. Hopefully, they'll see it. But if not, I tried. I'm actually playing Adele in the background, so hopefully you guys can hear her. I'm enjoying it. And I actually posted this in a group. I think some people might think that there's a fee, so trying to let folks know that it's not a fee. I'm just doing it in a different venue. So hopefully, so what always seemed to happen, most people catch the replay. Okay. And just wait, looks like Chin is gonna. All right. Well, I think, okay, we got a couple of people. All right. So for those of you who are here, welcome. I'm gonna turn this music down so that I can concentrate. Imani, be careful because you say you're driving. So I'm just trying to respond to the one question that the young lady posted. And I thought it was quite interesting for a couple of reasons. Um, and this is one of those questions that kind of can get us all, tricked up. The first thing I just want to say is what we got to keep in mind is that there are various people writing these different practice questions. And I think what's happening is that as we're studying the material that we're studying the factual information in regards to, okay, this is what you're to do in a particular situation. Now let's keep in mind that in a particular situation out in the field, if you're out there working and you come across a situation, there are so many different ways you can process through these various situations and come up with an answer or a resolve, right? And so here's what happens. Oh, I'm sorry, my volume was down. I'm sorry. Okay, is that better? Can you guys hear me better now? I'm sorry, my volume was all the way down. If you can hear me a little bit better, you can signify that by saying yes. So here's what happens. we're in a situation where we're coming across all these different practice questions, right? Now, keep in mind, these practice questions are not the type of questions that you're going to actually find on the actual exam, because what happens with the questions that we get on the actual exam, they go through a rigorous testing process. They go through testing and retesting to make sure that the type of question that they're asking can generate a certain type of response. This is why it's a standardized exam. And with it being a standardized exam, you know, the idea here is to kind of get us all thinking and answering the same. Now, truth be told, in the real world, that's not going to happen. Okay. Me as a clinician, you as a clinician, a therapist, a social worker, whatever, right? We all, based on our own experience, based on our clinical, our clinical modality, based on, you know, the clients that we have in front of us, how we work through a particular situation, there's a whole lot of different factors that we would take into consideration and have to determine. This is one question, and this one question, okay, is lacking some things, a lot of information. And because of the information that is lacking, we can only respond to what's in front of us. So me giving you my feedback on this particular question is just solely based on how you read this question and answer this question. And I'm saying it like this and I'm stressing it like this because you have to keep in mind that each and every last question that you get on the exam is going to be its own individual question. And you have to be able to look at it from that perspective and that perspective only. So one of the things I try to do, so I could open up a class and I could teach all the different basics of, how to handle ethics or how to handle, child development or all these different things, right? They're the basics, right? But when it comes to the exam, you have to keep in mind that you have to focus on the question that's in front of you and only that. So given the information that we have, given the prior knowledge or the knowledge that we have in reference to what is being assessed here, we have to be able to bring that together and synthesize that information, draw inferences, and then be able to move forward to process. No assumptions, no adding, no taking away, and using deductive and inductive reasoning, right? So let's start with this. A social worker receives a subpoena from a law firm regarding a lawsuit in which the client is a defendant. What should the social worker do first? Okay, that's not a whole lot of information. And that's what the young lady put up there, right? A social worker receives a subpoena from a law firm regarding a lawsuit in which the client is a defendant. What should the social worker do first? Well, first of all, let's look at this. A social worker receives a subpoena from a law firm regarding a lawsuit. So how did this social worker receive the subpoena? Was it via email? Did somebody deliver it? Did they get a text message? Did they get, or an email or something? Did they get a phone call? I don't know. So honestly, when you get a subpoena, most times, 9 times out of 10, it's either being delivered to you, hand delivered, or you're going to get it in the mail and you're going to open it up and you're going to see that you have a subpoena. So we can rule out any kind of phone call. We can rule out any kind of attachment through an email or whatever. So that subpoena came directly to the social worker, probably to her inbox, to her mailbox. And so she opened up this subpoena and she got it. All right. Now, because it was delivered to her, she got it from her mailbox. What is the first thing? And that's what we got to pay attention to. This is asking us, what is the first thing that we should do? And now logic and reason is saying, let's take a look at this. Logically speaking, right? So let's highlight that. What's the first thing she should do? So we know she received the subpoena. We can infer, we can make that statement that subpoena came through the mail, so she got it. So I get that. I go to my mailbox. I open up my mail. I see I have in my mail a subpoena from a law firm regarding a lawsuit that the client is a defendant, right? And all of a sudden, I gotta show up, or I'm being subpoenaed, or my records are being subpoenaed. All right, what is the first thing that you do? Assert privilege on behalf of the client? Well, a certain privilege on behalf of the client, that is something that we're going to have to do, and that is something that's necessary. But are we just going to bypass, priority or logic and just pick up the phone, call the attorney and say, hey, listen, I'm just going to assert privilege on behalf of my client. I'm not going to be able to give out this information because blah, 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 blah. Or are you going to go ahead and contact the client first and inform your client of what's going on here? The first thing you want to do, you want to follow up with your client and just let your client know. Let your client, make your client aware. Your client may already know that you're getting a subpoena. You might find out that when you call your client let your client know, hey, I've been subpoenaed. The client might very well say to you, yes, I knew that was going to happen. In fact, I, suggested that they, give you a call, or blah, blah, blah. We really don't know. However, the most appropriate thing to do first is to follow up with your client, let your client know that you've been subpoenaed, that your records have been subpoenaed, and then have a discussion with the client in regards to, okay, how are we going to follow up with this next? Are you going to give me a release of information? Do you want me to withhold information? If I am to submit some information, what is it that you want me to release? Now, this could be a very different situation if it was a judge that was giving you a court order to turn over some records or to appear in court, and that's very different. Still, you receive that court order, you contact your client, you let your client know that you've received a court order and that you have to turn over this information. Now, whether the client wants you to release the information or not, in that particular statement or in that particular situation, you're in a pickle. You're in a pickle because the judge gave a court order. So whether or not the client wants you to send the information or not, it's really not a matter of discussion. However, it is something that you need to inform them. You can inquire about what type of information that client would like for you to share, and then you could take it from there. But if the client states to you, oh, no, I don't want you to talk to the judge, there's not much you can do. If the client say, I don't want you to talk to the lawyer, who is not a judge, who is simply sending you a subpoena, that's something a little bit different. You assert privilege, but you first follow up with the client. It's just the order of priority, right? You want to talk to the client. Wouldn't you want to know if somebody got something on you and, subpoena someone? Wouldn't you want them to follow up with you and notify you and let you know what's going on? Well, it's the same kind of case here. But also keep in mind, I do want to say this. I highly doubt that the ASWB will give you a question that's structured this way and structured in this fashion. And what do I mean by that? I highly doubt that the ASWB will give you a question that have both assert privilege and asking you whether or not you will contact the client, because it is not the desire of the ASWB to confuse you in any kind of way. It is not the desire of the ASWB to kind of get you caught up in a jam. But what they are trying to do is that make sure that you have an awareness of what it is that you're supposed to do in particular situations such as this. So in this case, given this situation, given this particular question only, out of the 4 answer choices, for me, in my opinion, and notice I'm saying in my opinion only, I would contact the client first. I would notify my client that I received the subpoena. I'll let them know that. I will also leave it up to my client as to whether or not they want me to release any information and share it with the attorney or not. If the client says no, then I won't do that. I will assert privilege on behalf of my client. If the client says it's okay, I would then require a release of information from my client to make sure that she signed or he signed a release giving me permission to let go of the information and what information it is that they would like for me to share. So in first and priority, I'm going with C as my best answer choice here in regards to all the other answer choices. I would then follow up with A if the client does not want that information released, and I would move on from there. That's all I actually have. I just kind of wanted to go through that question because I was asked to go through that question. So I thought I'd just kind of share my opinion on it. I wanted it to be recorded. I was hoping that I could get a dialogue going on here with some folks. So that's why I did it. I chose to do it in this format, just in case anybody wanted to come on and ask some questions or dialogue with me face to face. You know, here's your opportunity. So if you are on a computer and you can hear me and you have any questions and you would like to ask me a question, you can raise your hand. Hit that little hand raise. If you're on a desktop computer or whatever, you can hit that hand raise and it will let me know that you want to speak, and then I can give you access to the computer to be able to speak and ask your question and join in with me. Anyone? All right. Okay. If not, if that's it, if you have no other questions or if you have no concerns or whatever, if you do have a question, you can write it over in the chat box and I'll do my best with being able to answer that. Oh, okay, I do have a hand raised. All right. So here's what I'm going to do, Judith. Okay. You raised your hand, so I'm going to hit the check box. What that's going to do is going to take you through a series of steps. Okay. It's going to check your camera and it's going to check your microphone to make sure that it's clear. It's no more than a minute. It's not that long at all. It's just going to test your camera and test your microphone to make sure I'll be able to hear you and we all can hear you and see you, and then it'll join you in. So I'm gonna go ahead and accept you and I'll just wait. Anybody else while we're waiting for Judith to come in? Do you have any questions? And it doesn't necessarily have to be particular to that one question. I just wanted to go ahead and answer that question that was raised and try to share that with you guys. So if there's anybody else that might have a question, you can go ahead and type it in if you're capable of typing that in. I hope I didn't lose Judith. I think I'm still waiting for her to go through the process. And all right, anybody, any questions? Okay. Judith, are you still there? Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, do you want to type your question in, or if you want to give it a try again, I could go ahead and try and bring you in. It's not a big deal. I'm actually free for the rest of the night. When I hang up with you guys, I'm going to finish up my dinner. So basically what I said, if you hit the hand raise, that will bring you in. It's just going to test if you got a camera on your cell phone. I mean, if you got a camera on your laptop or desktop, and if it, I have microphone capabilities, it's just going to test those things to make sure that they work before bringing you in. Okay. Well, go ahead and ask your question. Annie, do you recommend any acronyms for processing questions? Annie, for me, I choose not to teach the acronyms only because in my mind, the acronyms are there as like kind of like a focal point for memory, like to jar your memory to help you remember, okay, ask if you should, ask yourself a question in regards to, should you refer out, or should you, like, what are some of the acronyms? Are you safe? Are you safe? What, referral? If the client is under the influence, don't treat. Safety comes first, and da 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 da. Right. What I found that people tend to do, they try to answer the questions using those acronyms and using it as if it's an order of, Annie, I'll let you in, as if it's an order of priority, like this is what you do first, this is what you do next, and whatever. But it's really not like that, in my opinion. And so the way that I see acronyms is that they're designed to kind of help you to remember, like, in this situation, this is what you should do. You could create all kinds of acronyms for all kinds of things, and it's just a way of remembering. So I don't like to teach them. I do like to teach the idea of paying attention to the word choices, paying attention to adjectives, paying attention to the problem statement, being able to identify that, understanding how the helping process is relevant to what we do as social workers, and how it's relevant to us being able to problem solve and work through situations. So I do that. There are people who use acronyms and they do really well with them. But I think those folks that use the acronyms and do really well with them understand its usage and know that it shouldn't be used in, a first, next, last, an order like that, but is pretty much used as a reminder to kind of help you work through situations. Judith, if I receive a call, a live process from the law firm, do you suggest that I first assert privilege in that case? Well, okay, so that's a good question. So if you're on the phone and an attorney gives you a call and say, hey, listen, I'm working with such and such, and she's a defendant on a case, and I'm going to need copies of the record. That's a very different situation too, because number one is you can't even identify whether or not you're working with this particular client unless you have a release of information. So the first thing you're going to say to that attorney is that I will need a copy of a release of information before I can share anything with you. Just because they're attorneys doesn't mean that you could just automatically just go and start talking to folks because you don't even know who they are. So that attorney should then fax over information, but attorneys know that. And so if an attorney is giving you a call and they do have a release, what they're going to say to you is, hey, listen, I need a fax number. I want to fax over a release of information. I'm representing such and such, and I